Victoria. Michelle is going to be speaking to you. We're here to talk to you about trade show or trade reviews as compared to consumer reviews. Michelle has joined us about 4 or 5 years ago now. She has degrees in English and theology from UGA and Harvard Divinity School. And she was the associate editor and managing editor before she joined us. Me before haircut. I have a BA in advertising from Michigan State. I've taken all the Stanford Publishing, Yale Publishing, New York University Publishing courses. I've been had founded Forward Magazine about 24 years ago this April. So we've been doing trade reviews for that long. Michelle, are you there?
All right, I think Victoria is, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to try to connect to my phone. I don't have a good, I'm not having a good luck with my internet at this library. So just a moment, please, while I start this over again. I'm going to share the screen. Are you there? Oh, good. Okay. So here's what we're going to cover today. Trade and niche or consumer market reviews. We're going to give you some example of trade review journals. We're going to talk about timelines and editorial calendars and why these are important. We're going to also discuss what submission guidelines are, what Forward looks at, and what makes a good sell sheet, which is a part of the submission guidelines process. We also want to talk about the quality standards that all the trade journals in the industry pay attention to, and some suggestions for using your reviews. Michelle and I will be tag teaming this. So let me get started with some of the industry's top review journals. I don't know if you have had a chance or where you're at in your process, but these are listed in alphabetical order: Book List, Forward Reviews, Kirkus Reviews, Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, School Library Journal are just are the primary trade journals in the industry. In fact, we're 24 years old, but I just read today that Publishers Weekly is celebrating its 150th birthday this year. So trade reviews have been a very important part of library and bookstore sales process for that long. When we talk about trade reviews and a consumer review, we're talking about the different publications that you would use. Trade journals are who you want to get your book title in front of prior to your publication date, so that we can alert and start creating a buzz for you with libraries and bookstores and rights agents around the world. Whereas a consumer publication is something like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, your local paper, some local radio stations. Those are consumer media, and before you get involved in them, you want to make sure that the libraries and bookstores are aware of your book, because there's nothing more frustrating than a patron walking into a bookstore or a library saying, "Can you get me this book?" and the library not having any idea about it yet. So that's what trade does, is alert them in advance and gets them ready for the consumer demand that you do with your other publicity. Trade reviews, journals. I think this is for you, Michelle.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is let those purchasers, the people doing the purchasing at bookstores and libraries, know ahead of time what's coming out. They like to prepare months in advance. They like to know what's forthcoming instead of what's already out, so that they can prepare their purchasing. Some library systems are purchasing thousands of books at a time. Some have very limited budgets. So they need to do that entire vetting process ahead of time. We give them that insight. We let them know what we're seeing that's coming out, what we recommend, and the other trade reviews do that as well. Just letting people know what you should be on the lookout for, what your patrons might ask for, and why you should pick this book up. Our reviews in particular are about 300 words in the magazine. Clarion reviews are a little longer, but the magazine reviews are vetted. So the criticism is a bit more condensed. They are basically an introduction to the book, a pre-vetted book, letting people know in an engaging way, this is what the story is about. This is why you should be on the lookout for it. Every issue we cover in the back of the magazine every genre, but we also have specialized features. So for example, coming up, we're going to have a feature on travel narratives. We're going to have a feature focusing on debut authors, on authors that are either writing fiction for the first time or are putting out the first books in the US for our audience. So we have those features that, that really focus in on things of interest and genres of interest. Part of the reason that this is important is that audience of prospective buyers that you're looking at. Librarians, for example, cannot purchase a book, cannot consider purchasing a book unless they have seen 3 reviews from trusted sources. We've heard this from multiple librarians. It was definitely the case on the small library system I work for. They need to know in advance not only what the book is, but that it's been approved by trade journals that they trust. So that they know it's not a risk. This is a book that's going to do well in their system that people are going to ask for, that's going to be of interest. You can also use it for publicity once the book is out. You can put excerpts on your jacket. You can use it to put out press releases. It's just very useful on all fronts. And that database is also a very important thing for us. The reviews automatically get uploaded. These are sources that librarians are looking at, that they can see, here are 3 reviews in a row from people we trust. And that's automatic. So it's a very big perk. All right, so for us, there are 2 different types of reviews. We're going to talk about Clarion a little more later. The magazine review itself is a vetted review. It's a title that we've pre-approved. There is a bit of summary involved. There's a bit more with a magazine review than there is with a Clarion review, but it's an artful summary. We like to encourage our reviewers to tell the book story in its own language and their own language, essentially getting up to discuss a book with a prospective reader, letting them know what the story is about, how it progresses, and why it should be of interest to them. I think our book reviews are very fun to read. I think that's one of the benefits of them. You're getting a little taste of the book in advance. All right, we're gonna emphasize when to send on repeat, and that is because it is just so critically important. This is particularly true of the pre-release trade review journal reviews. We are looking at books 5 months in advance, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But for example, we recently had a submissions deadline for Forward on the 15th. I'm saying the 15th, you can still send things a little bit late if you need to, if your book qualifies for this issue. That 15th deadline was for the May-June issue. We're thinking that far ahead. When people in our office are talking about forthcoming books, we're already thinking summer. It is the dead of winter here. I'm looking at snow outside, but all of the books we're discussing are summer titles. So you just have to think very, very far in advance. You have to give the trade journals enough time to sort through all of their submissions, to then assign books out, to give readers ample time with the book so they're giving a full and fair picture of the title, to send it back to you. And all of that happens pre-publication. All of that happens before the book hits the shelf. So it's a good chunk of time. What to send? You're going to want to send as complete an advanced reading copy as you can. We like to see cover art. It is not essential. But it's a good idea, because unless it's coming from a press who we know very well and we know what to expect from the covers, unfortunately, the reality is that covers are a package, is part of what people are considering when they're looking at a book. So if you can send it with cover art, that is ideal. We need to know that we can recommend the book on all fronts, including the cosmetic. So as complete an ARC as possible. We are accepting PDFs. I believe all the other trade review journals are as well. That's not a bad idea, because it gives you a little more time to work and it opens up the reviewer field. So you can either send a PDF or a hard copy. and a tip sheet, which is essential. That's going to give the journal, us, other journals, all the information that they need up front to know where the title would fit into their issue, how it would fit into their issue, things like dates, everything that's important should be on that tip sheet. How to follow up is a little more complicated with us. I know some of the other trade review journals have systems in place for this. We don't really. We're a small company. We're just looking at about 1,200 books an issue, and it's just not possible to follow up with everyone. So what we do is when someone is selected for coverage, we let them know that we're covering the book and that we might need cover art for them and things of that nature. All right. So we're looking for a variety of things. It's an exciting process, but it's also a complicated process. As I mentioned, we're thinking about 1,200 books submitted each issue. We're able to cover about 120 of those. Sometimes we get more than 1,200. So we have to sift through all of those books, see where they would fit in our issue, see how they would serve our audience. And it's a complicated, multivariate process. So we're looking, number one, does it fit our genres? As I mentioned, we cover everything in the back of the book, but we have those features that we can fit in a few extra titles of a particular genre in every issue. So if your genre fits the issue and you know that, you might want to highlight that on your tip sheet, highlight that on your cover letter so that we know, hey, this is of particular interest for this issue. With nonfiction, we definitely look for expertise. You're going to want to include an author bio on any tip sheet regardless. But if you're looking at a nonfiction title, anything that recommends you for that topic, PhD, experience in the field, you want to mention that so we know, hey, I might not be a biochemist, but I can trust this person to speak on biochemistry in a way that's interesting and informative and trustworthy. We look for unique. We're looking at trends in all the genres, but also just for something we've never seen before. If your book can surprise us, that's exciting to us, and that's something we want to share with our audience. So highlight what's special about your book. And we also think about books that nobody else is covering. While we cover titles like Elena Ferrante's books because they're major and they're coming out from indie presses and we need to, we also want to get those books that are special, that aren't getting attention from other sources, that we know deserve the attention. All right, so pre-pub, we have to emphasize it over and over because it's crucial. So those 1,200 books that are coming in for one issue, the first thing that we disregard books for, because we have to, is just the date. The publication date doesn't fit. There's no way that we can get it in front of our audience in a way that serves them, that serves librarians and booksellers. So the first thing we we have to disregard books for is that date. If the date doesn't fit, you get automatically disregarded, and that's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. It's because we have to get it to the librarians in time. It's requisite. And that's just get it to us as early as you can. All right, we have some examples of tip sheets. We mentioned these a little bit before, but they are crucial. We're going to read a little bit of your book when you submit to us because we need to know its language, its style, how it flows. But before we get to that, we have to check all of this information to make sure it fits the issue. So of note here at the bottom, there's that special box. It shows the publication date. The first thing we look at, it shows the ISBN. It gives us an idea of who the author is, who the publisher is, who's distributing. We need to know that our audience is going to be able to get a hold of the book. Librarians and booksellers generally aren't going to purchase from places like Amazon. They need to know they can get it through a distributor. So putting that up front is important. This press also included an idea of the cover art, which is significant. We know that it's automatically visually appealing. That's important. They mentioned awards that are coming in already, so we know there's some buzz generated around the book in the independent press community. That's important. There's a good idea of what the book's about, and there's already some advanced praise. This is a lot to fit on one sheet, but it's all significant information that's going to catch our eye.
Michelle, I just wanted to note or make an addition to what you said. Everybody can notice there's a fold line in the middle of this piece of paper. Don't have to get fancy with what you send in. Everybody, it all ends up in the trash, all the periphery folders and bookmarks and everything else. Just stick the tip sheet inside the book if you're sending a physical copy, and if you're sending digital, make sure that that is actually attached as a PDF or in the email message itself. So I know a lot of people are like, I got to spend all this money on media kits. No, you don't. Save that for somebody else who cares. And the trade journals just want you to make it as easy for them as possible to find information about your book.
Absolutely. All right, this is another example of a tip sheet that is eye-catching and gives us an idea immediately of what to expect from the book. This is a YA title. The art is geared toward that. The text is geared toward that. And all of that crucial information that we mentioned previously is right there in that highlighted box. So we know where to look. Our eye is able to immediately find the information we need to know where it's going to fit, if it fits our issue, all of that important information. This is an example of a tip sheet that, although it's not popping in terms of color, it has all the information we need. It's from a press that we trust. We know that the cover art's going to come out that way. And all that information is still up in front and center. As Victoria mentioned, what we're looking for most is the information. Make that easy to find, you're going to be in good shape.
Okay, my turn. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens if you miss deadlines. About 2001, maybe 21 years ago, we were the first company to start a fee for review service because we were getting so many books delivered for submissions that we couldn't put them in the print magazine. So one of the ideas that we had is if people were willing to pay us for the time and our reviewers' fees, we would be able to give them the same type of review that we provide in the magazine. And we were, as I mentioned, the first ones, but now all of the trade magazines are offering fee for review service because it really is a nice opportunity for so many publishers who missed deadlines or didn't get chosen, because not because their book was bad, but because there just wasn't any room in the journal. From our perspective, it's written by the same reviewers who write for Forward. So you're not getting a B class of review team. It's the same. They have certain standards we have to keep up with. We're also finding that these fee for reviews are often longer than the magazine reviews because we don't have to limit them by word counts or space. And again, this is the most important thing is that I feel about these services is they're all syndicated to, these reviews are syndicated to our wholesalers, and that in and of itself is the most valuable part of these fee for review services. You don't get into Ingram or Baker and Taylor or Bowker unless you have a review, and that's where libraries and bookstores shop. So you can't walk into a private bookstore or library and ask them to pick up your book. They're only going through these wholesale services, very similar to other, retail events. Let's see. So just some general advice as a summary too. It's really important to invest in your cover art, the interior design, and the expert assistance of an editorial team. I mean, I've heard the owners of or the CEO of Barnes and Noble say this. In addition, people are, it sounds like we're trying to crush you at every moment, and we don't mean to. But we have an obligation to fulfill to our readership, and they're depending on us to tell them about good books. And if we recommend something that is not going to fit protocols for bookstores or libraries, we lose their trust, and we would never jeopardize that for you, for indie presses as well. It's really important that you take some time to learn about trade journals before you send them books. I mean, I know Michelle doesn't really get super bothered by this, but I get bothered when I see a piece of mail sent into Traverse City that is addressed to an editor who died 5 years ago. It's not hard to go online, find out who the review editors are, find out what they require for submissions. Look at, they often have samples of the magazine so you can find out what our style is and see if it's actually going to fit or not. We also have available editorial calendars. So if you can help editors know that you have a cookbook coming out, that would be perfect for our home edition. Those are the kinds of things that you can put on your tip sheets. And those tip sheets, again, are worth their weight in gold. If you can figure out a way to set up a template so that you can interchange information that's specific to trade journals, that's an even better next step. And finally, I know we've disappointed a lot of people today, maybe telling them about a trade review process that happens 4 to 6 months in advance. It's so important that if you put this work into putting these books together, that you don't rush the process. It's just, pay for a fee for review this time, and next time you put your next title out, try to get the advanced review PDFs to the trade journals. But we can tell when people are rushing the process, and it's just not worth it from your side either to spend that much time. Spend as much time writing it and not follow through with the proper marketing. I tried to delete this. This is our old editor-in-chief with his pile of books. You can see behind Michelle today, her pile of books. I mean, this is just to give you an idea of the numbers of books that we get submitted, and have to choose 150 plus every other issue. It's really a daunting chore, but that's what libraries and bookstores are depending on us for, to do that homework for them. And this is some stuff I wasn't like from another publication, another review. And summary, Michelle, do you have anything else to add to this? Timing is primary. She mentioned it 500 times already today. Super important.
One thing that just occurred to me, you said gonna pay for review this time and then submit to the magazine next time. We actually use our own reviews as a vetting process. I've seen recently, we've gotten books that we've seen 2 in the series that came through Clarion that got amazing reviews. So when the next one comes in for the magazine, it's a shoo-in. We know already that we can trust you. So mention any review that you've gotten before, including from Clarion. Let us know the star rating. Let us know, hey, you've already read us. You should read us again.
And another important point I don't think we spent enough time on was the advanced the reason we also do this in advance is because so many of our more robust, our larger independent presses are using these reviews for blurbs on the cover of their book. So they know that if they don't get it to us in time, they won't be able to get the blurb on the book before they send it to print.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna look, I put these email addresses in the chat, but here they are as well. I'm gonna back out of this because I wanna see if Richard or are on the call, and if they have some, there's a discount for Bowker participants in this webinar today, but they have a deadline. Usually it's 5 days that they are going to give you to make and I don't see them, they're here. But if you have to order these reviews for Clarion, for instance, through Bowker, they provide this service. And when you sign up for it in the next 4 or 5 days, I think you will automatically be given a discount on your order. Thank you, Michelle.
No problem.
The niche section was for another webinar. It really doesn't have anything to do with our trade review. That was a question. Somebody said that you skipped the niche section, and it's not a different process. It's just mostly for niche publishers are trying to get to special consumer markets like, raising chickens and that discussion was mostly about making sure you had the correct BIS codes and things. So there will be a recording of this webinar available through Bowker. So if you miss something or you need to send it to one of your friends, please share with them. Thank you so much for your participation today. And I really apologize for the technical difficulties we had at the beginning. I will have those edited out for the recorded session that Bowker puts on. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.